Hello and welcome to Arn. This is Paul Bromwell, as always, back again once today with just not a one-time Hall of Famer. No, I have the new National Wrestling Hall of Famer with me, the creator of the Spine Buster. I can't even talk, Arn. I'm so excited. The creator of the Spine Buster, the founder of the Four Horsemen, the 1A Tag Team Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, he's my tag team partner. I had so much fun with you this weekend, Arn. Arn Anderson, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm supposed to be the one with the breathing issue. You just look like you fell out there at the beginning.
I got totally tongue tied, man. I can't wait. I'm still wearing this grill on my teeth, and they're coming out in like 4 weeks. So I won't have any excuses here soon enough. But how you doing, man? It's so good to see you. Are you sick of me yet? You've been around me quite a bit lately.
I'm floating, aren't you?
Oh man, I'm still riding the high after what we just experienced.
Number one, what a production those folks put on over the weekend. First class deal, treat everybody great. The outpouring of fans that showed up for that thing floored me. I mean, that ballroom was full for the Hall of Fame thing and the show. And it just, everybody from Miss Amy, our number one fan, was there, to Mr. Haremza. Is that how you say it?
Brian Haremza, yeah.
Haremza. I mean, people that came from everywhere for this, and the treatment was just awesome. And I got a chance, which I wanted to do, and the one thing I did think ahead on was I wanted to honor my family as being Hall of Famers, as well as all the wives, and I got to get that in, and glad I did.
Arn, you were phenomenal. You did a first class job with your speech. Not only did you do a first class job with your speech, but your son Brock, who inducted you, was just incredible. You had to be so proud to hear him in that moment and hear the words that he said about you. I know your wife was, I know Aaron was, all at the table. Marcus and I had cold chills listening, and then you get up to say what you did. It was a 1-2 punch that couldn't be beat. So just all around, what a proud moment.
Well, it wasn't a promo.
No.
It was heartfelt. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. Brock's pretty subdued about stuff, giving out information. And I was so proud of him, and it meant so much to me, everything he said, and so I know it came from the heart.
I wanted to mention to you real quick as well that Troy Peterson and Chad, okay, you were talking about the effort that group put on. I want to publicly mention them by name because I know you go to a lot of these things. I don't necessarily attend a lot of the Comic-Cons or the signs or, obviously a Hall of Fame event like this. But you want to talk about two guys that did a first-class job. You mentioned it, but I wanted to name them because they were incredible, from shuttling us around, airport travels, organizing. Chad, 1 minute he's wearing a tuxedo, announcing all the matches. To the next minute he's figuring out where he's going to take us, to making sure our hotel rooms are set. It was just an incredible job all the way around from those guys.
And never one time did you hear him say, "Man, I'm overwhelmed," or "Man, I'm getting tired," or anything negative. He was just gun ho, man.
It truly was. It was a special time. So just want to thank everybody. Brian Haremza, I see you're here, and others that were in attendance, and it was quite an event. And so just can't put it over enough. As before we continue on, I want to mention that the shirt that I'm wearing was well represented there. If anybody's seen any of the pictures, Arn, you were rocking this Hall of Fame shirt. This was specifically for you, and it has the logo, the Hall of Fame logo, and then underneath of it, it lists all the companies that you've worked for in wrestling. You were wearing it. Brock was wearing it. I was wearing it. We had that One True Sport logo there on the arm, and I can't tell you how many people came to our table, your table there, and said, "Where can I get that shirt?" And it's just a tremendous piece, a tremendous t-shirt, and you can still own it. Go to onetruesport.com, grab you one of these shirts. Arn, how many people came to us and like, where can I get one of those? So listen, you guys are hearing us here right now. Go to onetruesport.com. We've been loading up the website with a lot of great Horseman merchandise, but specifically some really good Arn Anderson merch. And this shirt is a hot piece of merchandise. Even the one you're wearing today is available on the site too.
Yep, this is new as well. Good stuff, very good stuff. And before we get out of it, the weekend, what about Brock and Wes Briscoe teaming for the first time? It was great to see Jerry. And when I found out, they were going to be teamed up in the main event, partners, man, that's 2 generations. That's a first, a Briscoe and an Anderson. If you know the history, that's pretty stout. And they did a great job. And the people got a very good main event. And it was just a good night of wrestling. Good rep.
Yeah, great night of action, great night of wrestling. Guys, I want to tell you, I see a lot of the chats flying in, and it looks like everybody's already having some fun with the chat. Just this is going to be a fun night, Arn. I love these Ask Arn Anythings, and this is one of them, almost anything. But use the super chat function, guys. It's your opportunity to give back to Arn. He's officially retired from a major wrestling company. And so we really do appreciate you using that super chat function. And I'm telling you, when I'm done all the chilling, because I ain't done yet, we're getting ready to start talking about where you can see Arn, all the appearances. But when I'm done with all that, I'm going right to the super chat tab. So get him in. And let's take care of our man here. So Arn, let's get into it. July 25th through the 28th. That's right. This coming weekend, it's GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I know you're excited about that. You're holding up your figure that you're going to have with you in hand, along with that My Life is the Enforcer comic book, and here that comes up in the other hand. You're getting really good at this, and fans will continue to bring, I'm sure, to that event Hershey's with almonds. Yes, I see you, Scotty Reed. And we got a few of those folks that dropped some with you, and something else that you received I'll get on here in a minute. But GalaxyCon Raleigh, and I know you're excited about that one, Arn.
Yeah, I mean, Raleigh is one of the places where, the Horsemen thrived. And it's a great wrestling city. It's a great city, sports, period, or just anything, tech, you name it. It's just a very, very great city. And none of these were available before. Any other time I've been there, that or the books. So I look forward to getting them in people's hands that want them. And just saying, I'm sure there's going to be wrestling fans there that go back all the way to 85. And when everything flared up with Jim Crockett Promotions and the wrestling industry caught on fire.
And listen, you're not slowing down, because on Sunday the 28th, as you're done there at GalaxyCon, you're going to hop in the car and drive out to Greensboro for another AML wrestling event at the Lindley Rec Center, not the Coliseum, the Lindley Rec Center. And that starts for you at 4 p.m. So there's no rest for the weary. 4 p.m. is when the meet and greets start for you, Arn, at the AML wrestling event on Sunday. So a big weekend for you.
Yep, 2 p.m. meet and greet, 4 p.m. start.
Oh, wow. So it's even earlier for the meet and greet.
It is. Yep, it is 2 o'clock and then 4 o'clock start. So all the Greensboro fans, I have no doubt, it doesn't matter what arena we're in, they're coming.
It is Horseman Country weekend, Rajiv, and it's great to have you here with us. I love seeing this group chat starting to fill up with a lot of names here, and we just love having these folks back in this virtual living room environment, don't we, Arn?
Yeah, we do. It's an almost anything day.
It is an almost anything day. WrestleCon, let's keep it moving. August 2nd and 3rd, Cleveland, Ohio. Huge event for you. This is a big one, Arn. And so you and Brock are going to be there. Lots of other talent is going to be there as well. SummerSlam, obviously, in Cleveland that weekend. But I know you're looking forward to making the trip to Cleveland, Ohio on August 2nd and 3rd. And you get to see a lot of buddies too, I'm sure, and connect with some old friends there.
Yeah, I mean, it's these WrestleCons are, awesome. And they're so well done by our friends over at High Spots. It's just the sheer people that come to this for everything that's going on, all the WWE events, Same thing with the WrestleCon events. It's a full weekend. You'll never see that many talent together all in one gathering, one city.
So check it out. Make sure, yes, Yambag Jones says, Cleveland, I'll be there. You might get to meet Yambag Jones for the first time, Arn. After all his hijinks on the show, all the elegante questions on the show, and I'm sure tonight he's going to have some good stuff for us. But you may get to meet, should I say, the Yambag Jones.
He better bring a valid ID. I do not believe that his mom named him that. So he's going to have to prove it.
I think one of his sons' name is Yam Yam Bigelow. So you'll have to prove that one too. So
other ID.
Guys, that's all the appearances we're going to talk about tonight. Man, we're so excited, and we hope you do get to meet Arn and Brock. I'm telling you, I got to see it firsthand. So many smiles on faces this past weekend. Arn takes time to really connect with his group. I will tell you, by the way, Tuesday, August 13th is the next time Arn and I will be together. I see super chats coming through right now. You guys are the freaking best, and Arn loves it, so thank you. Keep them coming in. Tuesday, August 13th, 6 p.m. So it's not usually every other week, but we're going to have a 2-week break. I'm actually going on a nice vacation to North Carolina on one of those weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. But I wanted to put that out there. Before we get into it, one more item of record, and I don't know if she's here. Maybe you guys can put it in the chat. Is Amy, Miss Amy, the number one fan, Arn's number one fan, is she with us tonight? And I'll give her a chance to put it in the comments. Yes, we know, Bryant. More to come there. Is Miss Amy here, though? Is Miss Amy here? I don't know. But Arn, I wanted to let you know, yesterday she celebrated a birthday. We saw her all weekend. You got to talk to her. You actually got to meet her husband, too. And I love the way he approached the table. And I'm Amy's husband. But she celebrated a birthday yesterday, so we wanted to say happy birthday to you, Amy, didn't we, Arn?
Sorry we missed it. That's a major fumble. Happy belated birthday, but you know how we feel about you. It was great seeing you there and being able to entertain you for the weekend. Husband is a nice man, like I figured he would be. So happy birthday if you're out there.
It was so fun. He's like, I'm Amy's husband. And then Aaron goes, and I'm Arn's wife. And it was just the best thing. And everybody was so kind and nice. And Amy's wearing her Brainbuster shirt the one day and her Brock Anderson shirt at the wrestling event. Did you notice she had a Brock Anderson shirt on at the event? So lots of great stuff. But with that, guys, it's time for you. And so we want you to start throwing those questions in. I know there's a lot here already. Again, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead, throw it in the super chat. That's what's big. And we have our first super chat question. Arn, Michael Jensen with a $20 super chat. Wow. And he says, hello, Arn and Paul. Your content helped some long overnights. Question. When you'd be close to your home in your Crockett days, did anyone ever come up and say, you know, you look a lot like this Lundy kid we had up around these parts around here? Did anybody ever kind of recognize you and say, are you related to a should I say your full shoot name? But did they ever say you look like a Lundy kid?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
He means when you grew up. So, and I know that was more in Rome, Georgia area, but when you were growing up, people obviously got familiar with you. There were people around town that knew who Marty Lundy was. Did you ever get anybody that ran into you in the airport as Arn Anderson and say, hey, you know, you look a lot like this Lundy kid I used to go to school with? Anything ever like that ever happen?
You know, there was a couple of times where I did run into people that I did go to school with. There wasn't very many instances of saying what you said.
Okay.
You know, Marty Lundy, I went to school with him. You look a lot like him. I don't remember any of those situations, but there were some people, business travelers, obviously, that were on planes with me. And Marty, you remember me? And it would be somebody from Rome, and that would be cool.
Now, if they were there with you and said, Marty, do you remember me? Did they they were, I'm sure, fully aware now that you're Arn Anderson.
Yeah. That's what brought them over to speak in the first place.
I got it. That's got to be cool too, to be like, because I'm sure a lot of those guys, a lot of those people tell their friends, I used to go to school with Arn Anderson back in the day. So
I don't know if they believe that because they don't believe I went to school, actually, I don't think.
After a few sentences with you, they were like,
Yeah, I'm
no
not
way.
real bright.
Oh man, we got to ride back to the airport with Nikita Koloff, and it made me laugh so hard. He remembered so many of your one-liners over the day, and I'm sure there's a lot of boys that remembered a lot of your one-liners. So I don't know about you talking about your intelligent level, but there are some one-liners he says of yours that he still uses to pop the boys and the crowd. So
I remember it. Do you remember it?
I couldn't catch the last word. It was something about looking up.
He had it. No, wasn't anything about looking up.
Oh, okay.
It is called supine to the ceiling.
There it is.
And for those that don't understand what that is, I got to get flat.
And he was saying it in reference to at the end of the day when he's tired and he wants to go to bed. Yeah,
Time to hit the rack. That's one way of saying it.
Supine to the
supine to the ceiling.
To the ceiling. Okay. I was sitting there thinking about spine to the pine and getting confused in the back. I was stuck in the very back of the van, so I was struggling a little bit. But you two were having a good time up there. Arn, I do want to say that I was really excited, by the way, this weekend to see one of the gifts that you got. No, it wasn't Hershey with almonds, but there was a fan that came up to you and remembered that a long time ago they had a conversation with you and found out that you were a fan of a particular brand of toothpaste. So it was just fun to see you accept a gift of a tube of toothpaste this weekend. And I just thought to myself, who knows what this guy receives out on the road, but hopefully you still have that tube of toothpaste with you.
Well, yeah, I used to use Close Up. How he remembered that, I do not know. But when he handed me the toothpaste, me being a cynic, I thought, this guy's telling me I got some wolf breath here.
You didn't, but man, I met a guy this weekend that did. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's like I really didn't know what to say. So
Right.
I figured thank you was probably the best bet.
Thank you. And might have a piece of gum, somebody. Anybody got mints? So.
And I am still working on that tube of toothpaste. It was the big size.
Yeah. Oh, man. So good. All right. We have another super chat, and this is from our One True Sport member, David Van Bogelen. He says, Arn, I'm curious. What is some of the best advice and also some of the worst advice you were given in the wrestling business? Good to see you, Paul. Good to see you, David. Man, David is such a great supporter and helper to us with so many things. And thank you for being here tonight. So, Arn, best advice and worst advice in wrestling business?
Paul Orndorff, right before he went to WWF, and I was working for Georgia Championship Wrestling. I mean, literally, he had about a week left and he was leaving, but we had a loop up in through Michigan and West Virginia. And, we were hitting the same gym every day for about 4 or 5 days. And little did I know, he was watching my matches because we'd never been around each other. We didn't know. And Paul looked incredible at that point in time and was an incredible worker. And he just kind of randomly pulled me off to the side and he said, I've been watching you. If you will continue to stay in the gym, learn how to work, learn how to talk, they will not be able to deny you. And I went, wow. I mean, this was unsolicited. Paul Orndorff, compliment of that magnitude, blew me away. Worst advice. I don't think I ever took any advice as being bad. I tried to turn it into a positive and get something positive out of it. I don't remember somebody, I don't have, and they may have, and I'm sure they said it behind my back. A lot of people probably said in the beginning, who in the hell is that guy? What's he trying to do? How did he get in this ring? How did he get in this business? But I never got a lot of negative stuff.
Yeah, and probably in the way and just being around you, knowing how you are, even if you were given bad advice or negative advice, it would just go and right out the other side and not even really hang on to it.
Well, I would say thank you for taking the time, even if it wasn't something positive, it was something negative, for you to take the time to even do that.
Yeah, there you go. Arn, we have another big super chat. CJ LaChapelle, and this is all around the Braves.
All
Arn, I
right.
heard. Yeah, here we go. I heard you're a big Braves fan. Are you worried with all these injuries? And do you think the Braves are going to resign Max Fried?
Certainly hope so. We need everybody to get well. I mean, if you look, our center fielder's down.
Yeah, Acuna. Yeah.
No, he's the right fielder.
Oh, who else is down? I knew the
The
Acuna
center
was-
fielder, the God,
Oh, I know. Michael No.
second year in the league.
Yeah. I got to look him up.
Uh,
They'll put it in the chat for me. This is see. I'm such a Pirates homer. I can't remember.
couple of our pitchers, our fireballer Strider,
Yeah.
he's out for the year.
Okay.
A guy like that, good
Michael
Lord.
Harris. That's it.
Michael Harris, stud.
Thanks, CJ.
We got some pretty tough injuries, and they're kind of after the All-Star break. It's time to kick it in, turn it on. We'll see how it goes. I'm behind them 100%.
And that's why my closest friend in all the world, Mark Sutton, best friend since childhood, huge Braves fan, and all he says to me is, "I can't wait for football season." So, I know, it's hard to be having a team that you root for so hard going through injuries like that, especially when there's, Acuna obviously out for a year and things like that, and plus, if you're a Braves fan, you automatically hate the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're playing really good baseball.
Yeah, because they always kick the shit out of us when it's important.
Yeah.
Well, they got our number.
Yeah, I know. I hear about it all the time living where I do in Pennsylvania. So, hey, keep those super chat questions going. Hey, a couple of you that have entered some real big super chat dollars. Thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot to Arn and I.
Very
Charlie,
generous.
Yeah, very generous. TG RT says, Paulie, I always say that to my friend. It's like sitting in a living room or a kitchen table with you guys. Man, we really thank you for that, CG, and love having you here with us. Allison Faye has a fun question. She wants to know, who is your favorite hair band? Arn, were you ever into the hair bands, the 80s, kind of the hair metal? You think about, I don't know, a lot of them, whether it was Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Winger, Slaughter, Poison, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi. Oh, man, I'm really dating myself here. All those bands, Rat. You think about it. Any of those bands, or were you more that classic rock guy back in the? I know you like Led Zeppelin and groups like that.
All them hair bands just made me angry.
Why?
Hair envy.
They had, and Allison's a hair lover. She loves all the guys. Like when Wardlow, I think, cut his hair, she probably went into depression knowing Allison. But yeah, she's a lover of all things hair. I can't believe she's a fan of ours here, but we appreciate you hanging in there.
If I could have grown it out, I'd have grown it to my butt.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Who wouldn't?
So you would have adopted the Dr. Tom Pritchard, nice big mop hair he used to have back in the day.
Very healthy.
By the way, that's a perfect segue, because I don't know how many of you know this. Back in the day, I used to do a little work with Dr. Tom Pritchard, and it was great to catch up with Dr. Tom Pritchard. Dr. Tom's speech, he had JBL come up before him. I mentioned Brock came up before Arn. We had two of Tony Schiavone's children, including my very dear, close personal friend, Lori Schiavone, that sat at our table with us, inducted Tony, and Greg Gagne, who did his speech. We were at one of the front tables, and don't you know, I recorded every single one of those speeches in 1080p with great volume, and the boys here at One True Sport are post-producing those. We're going to have those for our members. Traveling champions, you're in for a treat. We meet tomorrow to work on thumbnails, post-production, full speeches, including induction. You're not going to find them anywhere else. So now is the time to sign up for some content and hear some emotional speeches like you haven't heard from all 4 of those gentlemen. Plus, we were able to sit down and get some content with Barbara Goodish. Marcus interviewed her with Greg, and we got to talk to her a little bit. For those that don't know the name, the wife of the late Bruiser Brody. He also got to talk to Tito Santana. We interviewed him. And then you and I got to sit down with Jerry Briscoe the day after your induction and have some fun with you and Jerry. All that coming to One True Sport memberships. So we were thrilled and over the moon with all that content. So if you're on the fence, this is the month to sign up and become a member.
I can't say enough good things about everyone that spoke. I really can't.
So good.
Everybody that you captured, and I know we shill a lot of stuff on this podcast because we have to. Got to sell some merch, but let me tell you the truth here. There's going to be some speeches and some comedy and some heartfelt stuff that's going to be well worth your time. You have my guarantee.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. We walked out thinking, man, we really hope that our team, our members, our family really has a deep appreciation for what they're about to see. We're psyched about it. We have one of those guys that was there. He's a Dan Gable Museum member. And he was there. You got to meet him and talk to him. We got a picture with him. Bryant Haremza with the super chat. Hey, Arn and Paul, who was someone you enjoyed reconnecting with in Waterloo? And thoughts on Rock Riddle? So who was someone, Arn, that you specifically enjoyed connecting with in Waterloo?
Well, Rock is still hanging in there, right?
Yeah.
How many years do you think he's been in the business?
I'm looking it up because he was in the ring there for a little while. I felt like he was in the ring maybe for a few years that night. I'm kidding. It was fun. But man, you can find him. rockriddle.info is his website, guys, if you want to check out who Brian is talking about. But we got to talk about him. Again, I have hair envy of that gentleman. But yeah, he was there and doing his thing, man. Still at however old he is, I was impressed.
Still enjoying the business.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked. That's what you appreciate. And a night like that, some guys, that was a career moment for some guys, being around JBL and Mr. Briscoe and Tito and Dr. Tom and Brock, and certainly myself. So, what was the other part of that question?
Who did you really enjoy connecting with that maybe you haven't seen in a while or whatever the case may be?
Love talking to Jerry. Love talking to JBL.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Gurria was there. Talked to him for a minute. Everybody. And, everybody that I hadn't seen in a while. It was just such a cool, relaxed atmosphere. And
so warm. Everybody was so warm and kind and spent time with you. And it was great.
And everybody was good to each other and nice
Shelton
to each
Benjamin.
other. Shelton Benjamin, who, by the way, still looks like $1 million and is probably best shape of his life.
He looked incredible. It was great to see him, shake his hand. I'm just thinking about the room that we sat in and all the guys around us. Obviously, Dr. Tom sat on one side of us with his wife. She was so sweet and kind and great to get to know her a little bit too. JBL and Jerry, as you said. I love it that Jerry was like, hey, Paul, do you think Arnold signed something for me for my personal collection? Of course, Jerry. Of course. Arnold will take care of you. Man.
That's preposterous, ain't it?
It just goes to show the respect and love that your fellow peers have for someone like you, Arn. And I saw it the entire weekend. And we had Tony and we had Nikita Koloff and we had Shelton Benjamin and we had just so many guys that were there. And there were guys that commented like Bill DeMott and Mark Henry and others that were like, oh man, they commented on social how they missed it and congratulated you. And they were going to try to be out there. So I just thought it was so cool. By the way, he doesn't want me saying this, but Arn was the headliner. He was the main event. He was the final speech at the very end, and it was just so proud for all of us that got to be a part of it. We're going to keep moving. I want to get your questions in. Let's go to Tim Angston with a super chat. Tim, great to see you, and I see you on social, on Twitter. And he's here, always a supporter. Beach Blast 93 was one of my favorite shows of all time. Your match against the Hollywood Blondes was stellar. Thoughts on Austin and Pillman back in those days as a team?
Was Flair and I partners? Is that the match?
I'd have to look it up. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me right off the top of my head. I don't recall, but I'll let you guys help me out. But who was it? Who was the match? Who was Arn's tag team partner on that Beach Blast 93, guys? We'll wait for that. But just in the meantime.
And overall, Austin and Pillman, I knew.
Yeah.
You know, they had that.
Paul Roma and you.
Oh, okay. Paul and I. All righty. Well, Austin and Pillman had that chemistry. They could have really ran with that if they would have put the emphasis on them as a team and let them grow, give them, you know, they had another year and a half. They could have really ran with that team. They liked each other. They complimented each other. They were young. They were in shape. They were, you know, no injuries yet to speak of. And, man, they could just get out there and tear it up.
No, for sure. That's when, to me, Austin obviously TV champ and Pillman doing his thing, the Bengal tights, and you could see the potential. But when they came together as a team, man, it was next level. And people started to see, especially Austin. I think those, again, as you watch his career progress, obviously nobody knew that he was going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, and have that ride that kind of wave. But man, he was so talented.
Well, yeah. And the thing about it is, I always call him his generation's Ivan Koloff. If you saw Ivan Koloff when he was in his youth and in his peak, he was just a machine. He just kept coming. Same thing with Austin. That's who he reminded me of. And just great cardio and great strikes. He would stomp you half to death if need be. I know. I can attest. They were a great team.
No, they certainly were. And thank you so much for the question as well on that. Let me get us back here. We have another super chat. Let's go to Reggie the Tree. And this was another music one, Arn. And he says, hey, y'all, I know you got to love Motown. Who is your favorite? So let's start with that question. Motown fan? Were you a...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Smokey Robinson, Tracks of My Tears. I liked the Jackson 5 when Michael was young. Good stuff.
Four Tops?
Spinners, Four Tops.
Yeah.
You know, that whole era.
Yes.
I love Could It Be I'm Falling in Love from the Spinners, one of my favorite songs of all time. I'll Be There, I'll Be Around. A lot of good songs. Marvin Gaye. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
All right. Reggie the Tree hitting it out of the park, learning more about Arn. And then he continues and he said, I remember a match between you and the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez. It had great chemistry. Tell us why. You enjoy working with Manny?
Yeah. Manny was aggressive. And, he was a guy that when he stepped through the ropes, he believed in his, himself. He didn't think his shit stunk, and he was the man. And if you didn't fight him, he would eat you up. But if you fought him, you end up having a pretty good match. From what I've heard over the years, I mean, they were pretty close to, being a slugfest. And he was that way with everybody. So I never took it personal, but it was very physical. Kudos to him. I liked working with him. I liked the end result of win, lose, or draw of the matches that we had. And I think the audience liked it. He was actually my very first angle. Just to catch up real quick, I debuted on television and I just had a match where I dominated a guy and broke his arm. wrapped his arm around the bottom rope, jumped off the apron, broke his arm. Manny came down to save the guy. I backed off. He looked at me and then went to see about the guy with the broke arm. And when he did, I Pearl Harbored him, threw him out to the floor, dropped him over the rail, left him laying. Pretty sure nobody did that to Manny Fernandez during that era. I was immediately made in that company that day.
The Raging Bull. And you know, you've talked about working with guys like Barry Windham and Ricky Morton, how they were like working with the gazelle and working with a feather, and it was like a night off. You're talking about working with Manny now. He's aggressive and he's coming towards you. But did you also have an appreciation for that style too, and enjoy working with that style?
I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're getting whacked, you will do two things. One of two things. You will stick your tail between your legs and beat it, or you will fight back. And if you fight back and he fights back and the level goes up and you fight back, boy, before you know it, you got a hell of a match going on.
No, it's physical, it's intense, and the fans are just grabbing their popcorn and loving it too. And you can feel that intensity as a fan.
Hey, it's been said 1,000 times, it's not ballet.
You got that right. Hey, let's keep it going. Michael Jensen, super chat here, $10. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, I'm wondering, yeah, really great night, and we really appreciate it. I'm wondering what both of your thoughts are on people like Gunther, Sami Zayn, MJF, etc., bringing prestige back to the mid-card titles. Gunther, to me, has superstar written all over him. But to his point, MJF's now the international championship. You've had Gunther and Sami Zayn with the intercontinental titles, and really that have held the title for a long time and become more of those workhorses that we were used to back in the day. What's your thoughts on it, Arn?
The longer you can keep a championship, the more it means, you know, because you let the audience know it means something to you. I've watched this Gunther, you know, periodically on TV, and he's cut out of the, you know, the mold of Manny Fernandez. He will stand in there and chop you until your chest bleeds. He's a rough guy. He's stands in there and he brings the fight to you, and you got to fight him back. Whether you like the guy or, you know, care about his politics, or you like the way he views our country, whatever the deal is, you got to respect the fact that this guy's a great champion. Yeah. And, you know, if you turn your back on him, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to do it quickly.
He is a certified badass, and you can tell Triple H loves him, but he gets it done. And I love the fact when he was in NXT, he realized that he was going to be getting promoted soon. He worked on his body. He worked on his presentation, all the things that you said, like the Paul Orndorff talked to you about, you know, that advice. Gunther, here he is following the same advice, and he's on the fast track to superstardom. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a world champion. It's going to happen, you know, barring a major setback or injury. He's a stud.
You can call it whatever you want. There's a lot of names that would surround it, but it's a hell of a compliment when you call somebody a pro, and he's a pro.
There you go. Well said. Guitar Anthony is up next. Our next super chat. Please tell us the legend of Jim Verroo. You did jobs to Ron Bass and Paul Jones under that name. Where did that name even come from?
It was one or two of my first two TVs. They asked what my name was. They didn't particularly think that had much pizzazz to it. So they said, okay.
Where did you come up with that from?
So yeah, I mean, this was like the referee came over. Okay, he was writing down weights, where you're from, what's your name, all that stuff, you know, doing some of that leg work. And I think it was probably one of my first, if not first TV, Atlanta TV, or second. It was something like that. So, okay, today you're going to be Jimmy Verroo. I said, brother, you can call me Winnie the Pooh. I don't give a shit. Am I going to get to wrestle?
Don't bring up Winnie the Pooh again.
Yes, you are. So call me what you want. Didn't matter.
Oh man. Oh. Rob Snyder has a question. He's watching us from Twitter. He says, and great to see you, Rob. Arn, any stories from Richmond Coliseum in Richmond, Virginia? Get those super chats in, guys. We have about 15 minutes or so left, so keep firing those in. Richmond, Virginia, Arn, Richmond Coliseum.
If I remember right, it was either a Friday or Saturday night. We would always run Richmond. And this is just a story that it's not high impact. It's got a lot of pizzazz, but it's important where the history of the business is concerned. All these 8x10 photos that you see that float around that guys have on their table that went through the Jim Crockett company at some point or the other, but you've seen the real professional snapshots that guys have on their tables and all that. Eddie Cheslock was the mastermind behind those, and he was a wrestling fan. He was obviously a tremendous photographer, all around good guy. We lost him a couple of years ago, and he would just come back, and as you were getting ready to go out for your match, he would say, guys, let's get a pic. You would stand, you can always look at that brick wall as the background. And he took some pictures of the greatest combinations and the greatest partners and the greatest opponents, all that tremendous work that you'll find anywhere. You could probably just Google it. That's what the pictures that we still have today and that we make available for the fans. But that was one of those things that he wasn't making any money. Nobody was paying him. He would show up with you one of those pictures, nicely done, nice packet. Next time we could go to Richmond, it would always be pictures from the thing before. Oh, yeah. And he was just a valuable guy to our business, and we loved him.
Oh, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I'm just going through some of the comments here to figure out what I want to ask next as I'm waiting for super chats. Yeah, I'm asking for them. And Allison says, I want to know your favorite hair band too, Paula. You're not getting that way for that easy. And she said, by the way, bald is beautiful. She's the one who likes the long hair, but I guess that means us too. Well, I'm bald. You're still good.
Yeah, but it's because you got a perfect head.
Here we go again.
You got no dents, no knots, no holes in your head. It's not lopsided.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, bands, Allison. My top three. One of them I don't know you consider a hair band, but Metallica was always a good band. But I like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. Those were like my top three. But I also love some of those other ones. Def Leppard, Poison, Slaughter, stuff like that. But yeah, I was a huge 80s hair band, but those were my top three in no certain order. I might have playlists of all three of those. Paulie's favorites. So yeah, those are my favorites. Let's see. We're just going through here. Heather Whitley's with us tonight. Great to see you, Heather. You remember Heather? You've met her at WrestleCade. You're going back to WrestleCade again this year. That's going to be a huge event. They're doing TNA, by the way, down there. So there's that. The Grappler, by the way, was there this weekend as too. Len Denton. We forgot to mention his name. So he was there. Thank you, Bryant Haremza, for doing that, for saying that as well. CGRT says, my all-time favorite Arn promo was on Nitro. The Horsemen were in the ring, and you were talking to Mean by God Gene, and you said, one rule in gang fighting, we are the original gang. And they send one of your guys to the hospital. You send one of theirs to the morgue. And I remember that promo, so that was a good one. I like your new shirt, by the way, Never a Victim, over at onetruesport.com. Another fun quote. You know, there's a site that has nothing but Arn Anderson quotes on it that you can find. You Google it.
I didn't know that.
It's like 25 quotes that you said throughout the years in your promos.
Wow.
Yeah, so fun stuff. You guys can do that. Let's see what else we have here. Just waiting for those to come in. Rajiv said Arn's been 40 forever. Did he even go to school? So
yes, but just through pre-K.
Oh man, Lil Patty, he says, Arn, Paul, have you seen Barry Windham lately, and how's he doing?
He's doing better. I saw him maybe 6 weeks ago. Maybe I may be off a couple weeks up in New Jersey.
New Jersey. That's right.
There was the '80s. Gentleman ran a show up there, and it was stars from the '80s, and I got to visit with Barry
That's
some.
right.
Tully was there, JJ was there, myself, and Barry. So I got to visit with him, and he's doing better.
Yeah, it's so good to hear. And
Thank God. Thank God.
Absolutely. We got our next super chat, and it is CJ LaChapelle. Do you think the idea that referees should be small is old-fashioned? I'm 6'3", work some indie matches, but been told I'm too tall to referee for the WWE.
I kind of agree with that.
So you need to be smaller because you don't want to be bigger than the wrestlers, right?
There's an illusion that we're painting, and smaller referees make the talent look bigger, especially on television, which television is tricky. Some guys it makes look bigger, and then you see them in person, and some guys look smaller. It's really weird, and no two people are the same. But having a smaller referee, especially when he starts to get bullied by one or both of the guys, you feel a little more compassion than a guy if you start doing a shove number and you're 5'10" as a wrestler and he's 6'3". It's like, well, knock him on his ass. Yeah, no,
I do. The last thing, you imagine? Okay, so I'm CJ, I'm 6'3", 6'4". I get into a ring as a wrestler, and what if the referee was 6'5", 6'6"? Now all of a sudden, the intimidation factor that I thought I had as a 6'4" wrestler just goes right out the window. So I get that. You know what I mean? Arn?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Dylan says, Arn, huge fan. Quick question. What would you say was the greatest singles match of your illustrious in-ring career?
I was always a tag guy.
Yeah.
Pretty much, other than the TV title matches. I kind of liked the TV title when I first came back. Muda was the TV champion, and I first came back from WWE, and I had a television title match. Went about 15 minutes or so, but I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a very good match, matter of fact. And I was lucky enough to win the title off of Muda, who was a big star.
I want to hear, let's hear some of the fans, some of our listeners. I want to hear, what are your favorite Arns matches while we're here? Andrew Hermes, by the way, the co-host of Medusa's Pod, Paving the Way, our research guy, just star of the show of Paving the Way, says his favorite Arn was you and Flair from Halloween Havoc in 1995. So there you go. That was one of his favorite. Scott George says that's his too. That's his favorite match too with you, was you and Flair Halloween Havoc 1995.
That's the one in Asheville.
Yeah, I believe so. Reggie the Tree says Arn versus Barry. Tim Angston says he likes seeing you and Bobby and you and Steven Regal. Dude, I think there's so many matches, like if you went back and watched them over again, because again, when we cover your career, remember you're moving at 100 miles an hour through those days. And, we've gotten to pause and go back and watch. But when I just read names here of guys that you wrestled, it's a Hall of Fame list.
Well, any match with Bobby Eaton is going to be good. He was just that good.
Yeah.
He made anything better that he touched. William Regal, I love that European style. I love the lifters. I love the different hooks and holds and maneuvering his way in and out of things and putting you, all of a sudden you're looking at him 1 minute and you're looking at your butt the next minute. It's what that European style is awesome. That's a couple of guys. I had some good single matches with Steve Austin.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Efren Guzman wants you to know that Arn Anderson gave the Renegade the best match of his career. So,
oh my God. That was horrible. I hope you're being sarcastic because
Oh man.
that stunk.
He said, but you gave him his best match, not that he gave you your best.
Well,
Tim says he thinks it was you and Flair at Fall Brawl 95. So that was a good one. Let's see. I like the Flair. CG says, I like the Flair arm from Havoc 95 in any of his matches with Bobby Eaton. They were some classics. Eddie Prather said, what about any Arn Anderson versus Brad Armstrong match?
oh gosh. Well, I would have loved to have been in an angle and had a story with Brad and been able to go 20 minutes on TV, 25. I mean, said it before. I don't say it enough. He was as good, guys, technically in that ring as anybody ever has been.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. He was as smooth as silk.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like the Fall Brawl one is getting all the votes. Research guy said that was his bet. He liked the Fall Brawl match with you and Flair. We got to hear people talk about Brad Armstrong this past weekend when we were there at the Hall of Fame. A lot of respect for Brad and his family. I think it was Jerry Briscoe was talking about the Armstrongs.
Well, and their family in general. Bob gave me one of my first breaks, and they could all work. Stevie, Brian, all of them. They all had talent, every single one of them.
Guys, we've got about 5 minutes left or so. Get in those questions. I want to make sure that I get as many of yours in as I possibly can. Remember, the super chat is open. Let's talk about Walter Johnson said, I just want to let you know, Arn, the Brainbusters, such a great tag team. And I know you talked about your match that you had with the Rockers and how that's one of your favorite tag teams ever that you worked with.
Yep. Tag matches were just kind of my specialty. I just enjoyed them. And, there's an art to having, in my opinion, heels with the titles and two good babyface challengers is the best scenario for a main event on every show, every single night. Nothing should be able to follow that, my opinion.
Totally. Yep. Definitely agree. Just a Fan has a question. Says, hey, Arn, I hope things are good. Just want to know if you've read Living the Gimmick, a murder mystery by Bobby Matthews. If you haven't, you should. You might recognize the main character. Living the Gimmick. You ever hear that book?
Who's the main character?
I knew you were going to ask me that. And let's see here. Pro wrestler Alex Donovan sees his best friend, former world champion, the Wild Child, Ray Wilder, gunned down in the street. I have not read this book. It's available on Amazon. And
Is this a true story?
I don't know if it is or not, if it's
fiction.
Nonfiction. Okay. So no, we have not read that book, but it looks like it uses the backdrop of pro wrestling in the 80s and its current climate to examine the strained bonds of a lifelong friendship and how an all-too-real abuser can exist without scrutiny in a showbiz world full of fake tough guys and choreographed fighting. Yikes. Looks like it's got a lot of praise. So there you go. Not heard of the book, but man, looks like something cool to check out. So we'll have to check that out. We got another super chat came in from our buddy Reggie the Tree. So we want to get to that. He says, how were the Rockers and the Rock and Roll Express different?
Probably the Rockers were just a smidgen more athletic. Ricky Morton was the best salesman in the history of the business as far as making the audience want to come over the rail and help him. He was like a 12-year-old kid that was getting beat up by a bunch of grown men. Robert was just chomping at the bit on the apron, and it was a formula that worked every night, 365 days a year. Ricky Morton selling was a thing of beauty, and once you got him bleeding, brother, look out, here comes the granny squad with their canes, because they were going to whoop somebody. The Rockers they were just a little more active, little bigger, little stronger, little more athletic, but you cannot deny how over the Rock and Roll Express were. You know, they rose above every babyface team in Crockett Promotions, and they were just that hot, and we all owe them because they filled up a lot of buildings, no matter who their opponents were.
They, and I was just telling you the other day, me and Marcus were watching some old Crockett Promotions, like kind of a best of compilation from RF Video. And every time the Rock and Roll Express is trying to come down to the ring, they're being attacked like they're the Von Erichsen, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
People just wanted to touch them.
It's insane. It was insane. So we have, all of a sudden, here we are at the last 5 minutes. We have 3 super chats rolling in. So here we go, Arn. First one, Yam Bag Jones. Arn, see you in Cleveland, my friend. I've been wearing a white hat and a hello, my name is Yam Bag sticker. P.S. Anyone could with fake IDs, asking for a friend. So I guess he could get some fake IDs with Yam Bag Jones on it and pop in. But man,
you don't think I could spot a fake ID?
I'm sure you've seen plenty in your lifetime.
No, because I always looked. When I was 12, I could get in any bar I wanted.
Well, because they said you've always looked 40. So
exactly.
There you go. Yam Bag
never needed a fake ID.
From the womb, he looked just like that.
If those people at the liquor store knew a 9-year-old with a full beard just walked out with a 5th of Jack Daniels, they'd be horrified.
Oh my God. Yam Bag, I cannot wait to see the picture of you meeting Arn. And I can't wait to see it, man. So glad for your support and thankful for your friendship. All right, let's go to the next one. Here we go. I just unstarted. I'm coming back to you, Michael Jensen. Here you go. He's one last one for tonight. Did Arn ever encounter the original bloodline, the Wild Samoans? If so, did you meet a young Reigns or Usos back in the day and see what they'd become and think what they'd become over the last 10 years?
I'm not sure if it was Alpha or Sika that lived in Pensacola when I was down there wrestling. And the Tonga Kid was the son of whichever one. Not to be disrespectful, I just can't remember if it was Alpha or Sika, but they were working in the WWF at the time. The Tonga Kid was 18 years old and was breaking in with Continental Wrestling in Pensacola. He was part of a group called the Rat Pack. It was Scott Armstrong, Johnny Rich, and the Tonga Kid. And at 18 years old, this kid had it. I mean, he already had it. And you just knew it. I mean, he was like Jimmy Snuka without all the muscles. But man, could he work. And we had such a great time grooming that kid. So one of the Pensacola shows, after he had been working with us about 6 months, we're sitting in the locker room getting dressed, and all of a sudden one of the Samoans walk in. And he just had the death stare on, and I went, Jesus. He wasn't, I knew he didn't work here, and he looked at me and went, "Can I see you?" And I went, "Oh, shit." He headed for the bathroom. In those days, if you got called in the bathroom, it's on. We got a fist fight fixing to happen, or worse. So, man, my knees got weak. Remember, I hadn't been in the business but a couple of years at that point. So I get up and I walk in, and he says, "Miss Anderson, just want to let you know the kid got the call from WWF. They want him to start partners with Haku. I know you have helped him. He tells me all the good things you've done teaching him. I just want to personally thank you."
Oh, wow.
We walked out. My knees buckled. I just knew I was fixing to get creamed. It was one of the things I'll never forget. And the kid went up there, and his first week, now this is 84. His first week, up in New York was $3,000. Yep. And I would suggest he was probably making around 500 or 600. Of course, that's what it paid.
Yeah.
Continental in those days, in those small territories, which was, if you're a single guy, that wasn't a bad living. But it was.
You've nailed it. You know what, Arn? You talk about your memory. You nail details. Like his name was Tama, but Sam Fatu. He wrestled in the WWF in 83, 84 as the Tonga Kid. Eventually, he would team with Haku. They'd be the Islanders. But just some of the detail of that story, spot on, man. And that's how I first remember him, as the Tonga Kid, and then teaming with Haku as the Islanders.
Yeah, and what a great team they made.
For sure. All right, here we are. We're 1 hour. This is our final super chat of the evening. Guys and ladies, I want to thank you all so much for being here. Efren Guzman, besides Tully, who was Arn's favorite top 3 partners of all time? Also, can we get an Arn Anderson film? If so, who can play the role of Arn? So, outside of Tully, who would be some of your top 3? Who were your top 3 partners of all time?
Tully has to be number 1.
Sure.
Ole, just because I learned so much from him. And the one thing that I took from watching Ole work and being his partner is he made a guy earn everything he got with him. You weren't going to knock him down with one punch or one kick. You had to work.
Yeah.
And I learned from him. And Bobby Eaton, just because he was my best friend. I love the guy, and he was such a pro.
Man, so good. So good. This has been so much fun. All of you, we can't thank you enough for all of your support. I want to mention before we get out of here that, I mentioned some of the content behind the scenes. Go over to onetruesport.com or go to the YouTube channel right now. That's where you're going to be able to join us to make sure that you get some of this behind the scenes content that we talked about here from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, plus some other things. Some perks and things that we have available to you. We have had so many great discussions with so many talent, not just over the last several months, but now even this weekend that are excited about being a part of some of the opportunities that we have. So just want to make sure that you get over there, check it out, make sure that you get in on some of this stuff. Can't thank you enough. Darren Staley, yes, you were working and you almost missed it. We're wrapping up right now, dude. But I want to thank all of those that were here tonight to make the chat so much fun and interactive. And all those that gave and helped us with the super chat. We can't thank you enough. Arn, any final words before we get out of here? Again, we're going to be back August 13th. Put it on your calendars. August 13th. That's 3 weeks from tonight. For the next month of Arn's career. We're going to make that as super interactive as possible. But before we get out of here, Arn, anything that you want to share or mention?
Just me and the crew. Me, Brock, Aaron, Smokey are heading to Raleigh, folks. We're going to be there all weekend. Come see us.
I love it. I love it. Check it out. It's the whole family, and you'll get to see all of them and shake their hands and get pictures. Take advantage of it. I'm telling you, first class. Not only Arn Anderson, first class, the whole family is first class. And is Brock going to work that show at all, or is it just a signing?
No matches, just signing.
Okay. So AML will be wrestling.
Sunday has a big one. Him and his partner CW have got one of the boys, if it's who I'm thinking about, one of the challengers is about 400 pounds, buddy. And that's going to be a chore and take some thought. So I'm sure they've been thinking about it for a while, plotting some strategy. I will add my 2 cents worth, and I'm sure they'll roll out their champions just like they came in.
Man, so good. Can't wait. And can't wait to get an update on how that match went next time we're together. Arn, one of our traveling champions, just joined, and he let us know he is a huge Arn Anderson fan, turned 50 on July 18th. Happy birthday, Darren Staley. Congratulations to you on your big 5-0 on July 18th. And just want to give you a big shout out right here on the show before we go off the air.
Happy birthday, my man. Now, being 50 means you got to behave a little bit. Can't act a fool anymore. Got to be a grown up.
I love it. Darren, so glad you made it and appreciate your support so much. Guys, we can't thank you enough. Make sure you like this video, comment, do all the things that you can. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to both the Four Horsemen Network and One True Sport TV. We'll appreciate you so much for it. On behalf of the Hall of Famer, the National Wrestling Hall of Famer, Arn Anderson, this is Paul Bromwell, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday, August 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern, here with Arn.